People pick and choose who they love. People pick and choose who they throw shade at. That's why I do what I want. And spending all your time won't never get it back. Time is money, don't be wasting my cash. Give it back, give it back, get it back. Hey, time is money, don't be wasting my stacks. Spending all your time won't never get it back. People pick and choose who they love.
What up, and welcome to the very 6th episode of the Pick Route. We are your hosts. My name is Patty.
What up, Dank's here.
What up, Qwee?
What's up, it's Moose.
And today we will be playing the hate list. More on that later on. Not a whole ton of football news came out this week, except for Bruce Arians stepping down as the head coach of the Buccaneers, moving to a front office position, whatever that means for him. Timing seems a little bit odd. It seems like he was kind of either, really just kind of setting it up so that Todd Bowles would just get the job without a whole process to it, so they can just kind of keep that thing rolling. The other theory is that Brady wanted him out, which I don't really buy, because I just feel like they never even talked to each other for 2 years. Like, they work for the same company, they work in the same building, but in different departments. Right. Like, what did Bruce Arians coach Tom Brady on? Hey, Tom, do whatever you want. It's like they met at his introductory press conference. They probably talked after they won the Super Bowl, and I bet that's about it. So, any thoughts on BA?
I thought that they were gonna go with Byron Leftwich.
Agreed.
Is he's still the OC?
Yep.
Yeah,
I would, because there was that rumor that he was going to be going to Jacksonville, which would have been awesome.
Yeah,
but it's crazy now seeing guys that we watched playing college football. Like, I remember Byron Leftwich getting carried down to Marshall. Like, I remember that stuff. Are now getting coaching jobs and working their way through it. So, all right. Well, not much else happened this week in the world of football. So, Dank, what do you got for the pregame?
All right. So I was going to talk about kind of going off of what we did last week a little bit with college football, but this new conference alignment, I believe it starts in 2023. The biggest one is Oklahoma and Texas going to SEC. So I just want to ask you guys, like, what do you think about this one? Who do you think it hurts, and who do you think benefits the most out of, especially Oklahoma and Texas leaving the SEC, and then Cincinnati, UCF, Houston, and BYU going to the Big 12?
Right. Yeah. Just really kind of talk about those two first. It feels like Oklahoma is kind of in a better of a spot to have some success in the SEC. They kind of remind me of just where Texas A&M was.
Yeah.
And Texas A&M came in and made a splash. And Missouri, people want to clown on Missouri, but when they came in, they went to the SEC championship 2 out of their first 3 years that they were there. Now, the East is the weaker division in the SEC, but they're still there. Obviously, the Big 12 losing the 2 blue bloods is, it's killer for them. It's basically, the American Conference is now getting a spot at the table is what it looks like to me. But
right. Go ahead, Moose.
No, I don't know. I think part of what makes college football like the best is the pageantry of it, And I'm not all in on having, 1 or 2 super leagues with the best programs in the country and then everybody else,
Right.
Like, when I think Texas, like, I think Big 12, like, they're not in the SEC,
Right.
So I don't know.
Well, yeah, the only reason the Big 12 is actually still around is because of Texas. That first real round of realignment, they were thinking about jumping to the Pac-10. Now the Pac-12, they're going to go with Colorado. And they said if Texas left, then they would just dissolve the Big 12.
The Big 12.
Because, that's obviously their big brand. And I think they just launched the Longhorn Network. at that time too. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. You know, there's other rumors going around, and I think everybody just starts kind of panicking as soon as one of those big dominoes fall. And you talk about USC joining the Big Ten, and all that there. But who knows? You know, just tell me who we're playing and when.
Right. It just didn't make sense for me especially I think Oklahoma. I think Texas actually benefits more. Because you talk about like Alabama taking all those guys from Texas, Clemson, all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Now with them being the SEC, that's something they can like, you know, go back on and be like, listen, like you want to play in the SEC, like we're here.
Right.
You know, I think Texas will benefit more. Oklahoma, I don't know why you would leave. If you win the Big 12, you're most likely in the college football playoffs. It didn't make sense for them to do that.
Yeah, I think they're going to take a step back. Not that Brent Venables isn't a good coach, but I still think Lincoln Riley's probably the best play caller in football.
Probably.
Said that definitely not the year before, last year. I thought he was the best play caller in football. And he said probably the best thing is the coolest thing is something that we've talked about, but the way he said it is that it's not about the number of plays you have, it's about how you package them. You know, and the thing he did with the GT counter stuff and running bash off of it was just awesome. You see, like, it's something that, you know, we've done at our high school team at School A. Is you know, teams like to say, you know, we're a quarterback friendly offense, but especially in high school football, you need to be an offensive line friendly offense. You know, you need to be able to get those guys rolling with what they're doing. So, any other thoughts with that?
I just think,
go ahead.
You know, Baylor and Cincinnati, I think, can benefit the most from it. You know, if they run the table in Big 12, you know, now they're looking at a spot in the college football playoffs the way it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, man, Baylor belongs.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing the SEC as like becoming this like powerhouse conference. To me, it's like getting the vibe where kind of like how the NFC East, you know, the old Big East in basketball and stuff like that. Like the SEC is going to beat the shit out of themselves, and hope that they can last all year through the playoffs and get, you know, into the championship situation healthy and all that stuff. Like at a certain point,
I mean, they've done pretty good at it in the past 20 years.
Yeah.
right. I understand what you're saying, but like Oklahoma is going to create a different element, right? Like that's not a team you want to just throw on your schedule. But to me, it's just like, how many prize fights do you want to have before the tournament's even starting?
Right.
You know, and especially if the SEC keeps recruiting the way that it's doing, it's like, damn, like
I heard a rumor that what the SEC is trying to do is overthrow the NCAA. Like legit. Like, hey, we're just gonna go do our own thing. You know, the group of 5 teams would love that too, because hey, we got a shot to win a national title. But yeah, they're saying like just bring the top, you know, 30 or so teams into the SEC and we'll figure it out ourselves. Because people don't know is that the NCAA does not name an FBS national champion. They sold that to the college football playoffs. So that's why college football has a different trophy than every other sport. Every other sport has that same NCAA trophy. But the FCS team is the team that is the NCAA national champion. FBS actually doesn't have that, so it's kind of funny. But all right, I'll get into mine. Talking a little bit more coaching stuff here. I want to break a football myth that's been floating around for a long time, and we've kind of talked about this privately. But playbooks, they are not like these super secret documents that we protect with our lives that like people make them out to be. Maybe way back in the day before like we started actually filming, people would want to hide them.
Mm.
You know, like way like in the
Yeah.
20s, like, you know, if we don't have film, like, let me see your playbook, that people would care. But, you know, at the end of the day, with a couple like variations, we all kind of run the same stuff. You know, there's like 5 run plays to pick from. So there's not a whole lot of hiding as soon as your film gets on. You know, it's funny. People always say to me, and they're joking when they say it, but like, oh, I'm just going to take your playbook and sell it to the opponents and make them. They can have it. Go ahead. Like, it's really, you know, like they're going to get it off the film anyways.
Yeah.
So what
Here's
you're saying,
100 plays we haven't run. Here you go.
I know.
So what you're saying is Coach Klein is not in the kitchen
No, right, exactly.
talking on the phone.
The
that's not
green
plugged in with
notebook.
The green notebook.
Exactly. You know, and like, it's, if anything, like Dank just said, having the other team's playbook would probably actually hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I counted mine today just to like go through it, and I haven't had a physical playbook really ever. You know, I've never printed it out and handed them out to kids because, you know, it's 333 pages in our playbook, and that's not even everything. You know,
Right.
we're always adding, we're always adjusting, we're always doing stuff with that. And if you just hand a kid a 333 page thing that doesn't read like a book, you can't read a playbook
Right.
starting at page 1 and then just flipping your way through and expect to get anything.
Well, I think too, it's like, you know, coaching high school football, right? Like you get new kids every year, right? So, you know, like how your playbook is constantly in flux year to year. You know, you keep your principles, you know, and you have a couple cornerstones of what you do. But like for us, man, I mean, at the minimum, I'd say a third of the offense changes over on a yearly basis to something completely new, you know, and
that's
over time, those things, like I would say what we're doing now compared to 9 years ago when I first became a coordinator, right? We probably have about 20% of that same offense that was 9 years ago, you know, because over time, all those thirds add up to a completely revised new playbook.
right.
You know?
No, hit the nail on the head. And it's, you know, playbooks are made before the season with what you think the identity of your team's going to be.
Right.
And I've been coaching for 12 years now, and I think we're 0 for 12 on what we thought the identity of our team is going to be and what it actually ended up being. You know, you guys know me. I love gap scheme runs, but if we don't have the personnel to run gap scheme runs, we got to figure something else. You know, we got to figure it out. You know, we're playing you guys this year, and, you know, who knows what we're going to do.
Dude, I was thinking about this the other day. It's funny that we were texting this morning about that other thing. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, how much stuff do I have to change by week 3 that he doesn't already know?
Right. Well, yeah, we were talking before you came out, before we started recording. It's like, can we just like come to a truce that we won't steal each other's signals? Like, let's just not look, so we don't have to deal with changing it for 1 week.
I was doing like calculus in my head, trying to figure out how we're gonna signal in our stuff against you guys.
No, exactly. But all that really kind of brings me to a greater point, that coaching and really in-game coaching in terms of play calling is really overrated. You know, it good players beat bad players all the time. That's just how sports works. Good players beat bad players. It's those times when everything's even, when talent is even, that play calling really matters. You know, and, you know, of course, there are times in those games where, you know, you can steal something from, you know, you can steal something from a team that's better than you. But if we're just better than a team, we'll just line up and run power 57 times in a row. You know, does that make me a genius? No, it's just, we're just lining up, or we're just better. We're just going to run one play and we're going to go. But, you know, when all things are even, and what's that, 2, maybe 3 times a year that you're playing a team that you feel like you're just straight up even, and, it's really going to come down to, it's really going to matter. So,
yeah,
kind of
breaking football myths. Like, it's okay to run the same thing repeatedly.
Give the ball to the same kid. It's okay. It's legal. Hey, he's better than everybody else. Give him the ball. That's what Urban Meyer's secret to being a good coach is find a fast kid and give him the ball. But Qwee, what do you got?
Well, we mentioned it earlier. I'm going to take it easy on Moose today and not get into college hoops. Plus, I'm not emotionally ready to talk about last night at all. But I'm going to piggyback a little bit on Dank's topic today with the realignment of the conferences and talk a little college football. But I'm going to go with a take right now that the best schools in college football today will suffer the most upsets over the next 5 years that we've seen because of the idea that the best recruits, or not even the best, but very good recruits are going to slip through the cracks to schools that they wouldn't typically fall to because the big schools are going to put too much of an investment on the transfer portal. And they're going to pull kids from that. They're going to hold their, those scholarships for kids that they've seen or that they've spent all that time recruiting and didn't get. And kids are going to fall to Cal. Kids are going to go, Fresno and stuff like that. And we're going to start seeing the bridge or that gap start to narrow a little bit. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's kind of what I'm seeing.
Which is actually
quarterbacks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's who's going to be in those transfer portals, and those are the guys that are going to change the programs.
Right.
1 year rentals, get a kid that's a stud, go win 11, 12 games, and he leaves.
Yeah.
Now, here's my other thing too: is like you see with kids that are coming out, obviously they want to go to the SEC, but if this first year with this loaded conference and it falls the way that I said, where the teams just beat the piss out of each other and they struggle in the postseason, is that going to be their biggest flaw in recruiting and force them to have to pull from the transfer portal and let these big-time recruits go elsewhere?
I almost think it's going to be the other way, though. I think what it's going to end up causing is that these big-time guys are going to go to Bama, to Ohio State, to Clemson, and then just go, if I don't start, I'll transfer. Let me go get a shot at these places. I'll go work and try to get a shot at these places. But if that doesn't work out, I'll jump across and I'll go anywhere because it's easier to get recruited out of Bama than South Central High School, in Tennessee or whatever, So,
and
I think it could go.
Go ahead, man. But I was going to say, I kind of feel that Ohio State is in a little bit of a separate category, just because they're so far removed from the SEC that to go there, it's all right, I'll see you guys in January. Not worried about it. But if you're a recruit and you're making your decision based off of an SEC school, now it's a little different. But go ahead, Dank.
I think it might go the other way too. These kids are going to slip through the cracks and go to these other schools. But now Cal, all the teams in the Big 12, they're just going to be JUCOs for these SEC teams, Go get highlighted your freshman, sophomore year at this other school, and then guess what? Alabama comes knocking on your door, and you're jumping ship.
Yeah. I mean, it's ultimately this and the whole NIL deal, it's a good thing. Coaches can leave whenever they want.
Yeah.
And these institutions can say that you're picking because you want the prestiges of a Stanford or whatever. You're saying you're coming to school here, but it's just not true for these guys. You know, they're coming to Alabama to play for Nick Saban. They're going to Clemson to play for Dabo Swinney. You know, they're going to Oklahoma to play for Lincoln Riley, and then he up and leaves.
And then he leaves.
You know, out to USC. So, you know, and we get more power to the players. I think it's a good thing. But, you know, as a fan of college football, and, you know, it's worrying. Just as being selfish, being as a fan. So,
right.
Moose, what do you got?
All right, so I was thinking about a lot of things. I think I'm going to hold off on my Urban Meyer pregame till next week because I got to gather my thoughts. But I was thinking, we talked last week or 2 weeks ago about single wing, and your take was single wing. There's going to be a major program running to it. And I was thinking, I saw something on Twitter the other day from a coach. Can't remember his name, but I've been investigating wing T again, right? Mm-hmm. And we got one of our boys down in D.C., coaches at high school down there, and he's all in on the wing T. And it made me start thinking, this Twitter coach goes, how many programs would be better off going to a wing T offense because they don't have a quarterback or the required playmakers on the perimeter to run these spread offenses, because, you know, that's the flavor of the day. And I was thinking, you know, back when we started coaching, the wing T was kind of on its way out, right? And now, I mean, at least in our state, I don't think there's more than one high school program that I know that runs the wing T, you know? And looking at it, you know, like all the buck sweep and the belly and the power stuff, I'm like this makes a lot of sense. And I wonder, when we talked about it being cyclical, when does the wing T come back? You know what I'm saying? Because we talked a lot about pro, you know, and tight ends and fullbacks and 21 personnel stuff coming back. When does the wing T come back? Because I think a lot of those older coaches that used to major in that are not coaching anymore.
Correct.
So, you know, it's just interesting to me, when is it going to be uncovered again? Because the more I research it, and I'm not saying that we're going to go wing T, maybe just for week 3, but, you know, I was just thinking, you know, it makes a lot of sense. You get 3 runners that can run, and there you go, you know, and everyone has running backs. Not everyone has quarterbacks, you know, and I'm sitting in these passing leagues every week, and I'm like, man, some of these schools would be much better off going to a system like that than they are trying to force feed themselves into a spread offense, you know?
I mean, it was our at school A, our rival was a wing T team forever up until this year. They got out of it. And, we decided that we're going to take a day because we have a bye week before we played them. So we're going to take a day where we're going to do wing T defense, you know, just run off some wing T stuff. And I tell you, it took a little bit for our kids to get settled into what we're talking about. And like, we don't know where the ball is, like, with all that. So, no, there's definitely merit to it. And these guys, you know, I don't want to criticize anybody, but if you're sitting in 2x2, you know, and 3x1, and when you want to feel fancy, you go empty, you're really becoming a dinosaur. You know, it's this, and we're gonna get, you know, the young kids coming up through this now are gonna look. I said it before. They're gonna look at wing T as like this new revolutionary stuff. You know, they're gonna be gurus with big play call sheets with it and their hair gelling and all that. But, but yeah, no, I mean, 100%. You know, it's if like what we just said, if your personnel doesn't fit something, you can't just force it. I remember one coach said to me once, and I couldn't believe it. He had a Division I tight end on his team. And he said, well, I don't have a tight end in my offense, so I don't really know what to do with him. I'm like, figure out how to use a tight end, dude. Like, bro.
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard. Like, let's figure this out, huh? Okay. You know, the kids going
the box count increased by 1.
Right. Exactly. In your favor. in your favor. Like, that's all you got to do, bud. You know,
I think it's just the guys that are coaching now, the spread is what they're comfortable with, that's what they grew up on. And it's going to take them to freaking have a 0-10 season, I think,
Right.
to like literally sit down and be like, all right, we need to do something else and have to get coached up on the wing tee. And unfortunately, a lot of guys aren't like willing to do that. They just want to do what they know.
It's funny because the most creative guys are the guys who are losing.
Right.
It's really easy to just say, hey, what we're doing is working. Let's keep doing it. When you're losing, we always had the joke, like, if you're winning, you could have a Post-it note as your call sheet. When you're losing, you need 15 different ones.
You need a Bible, dude.
A big call
just
sheet.
to solidify that you're doing a good job.
We want
just so you can justify when you get your doors blown off that, listen, man, I tried 57 different play calls.
Those times where you look down the field and go, how the hell am I supposed to get all the way down there? Why do they make these fields so big?
Patty, all you got to do is call GT.
That's
it.
Yeah. Qwee Babe had a mental breakdown because of GT.
It was a young coach game. At a JV game.
He was calling.
I emptied the call sheet. Everything on the list was done.
He's like,
and they ran the same play. Got back in the office. I said, Coach, how do you stop this? Because I called everything that you have.
Right.
It didn't work.
I sent 6, and they were blocking me with 5, and it still fucking popped. Is this the greatest play ever?
I even sent out 12 guys on a series. Didn't matter.
we literally
it's JV.
Dude, we were on the bus, and I was like, dude, it's got to be the greatest play ever. I don't know.
It is.
There's nothing left to call.
Yeah. Some of our head coach at the time did say that. It's like, if you sent double B gap pressure and they still popped it, there's nothing else you could do. Like, it's going to be that kind of day. So, all right, let's get into the game. This week we are playing the hate list. And this reminded me, you guys ever watched the Chappelle Show? They had the sketch, The Player Haters Ball, with it was Ice-T up there, and then everyone's just chanting hate. It's one of my favorite sketches of all time there. But it's a pretty simple game. We're just going to talk about guys in football that we hate. And we're going to explain why. And we each have a list of 10 guys. So as we go here's a list of 40 guys who will never be a guest on the pick route. You want me to start?
So we're going bottom up, or?
I was thinking we start at the top just in case we run out of time.
All right.
But all right, I'll start.
We'll
go the way we introduce ourselves.
So we'll go me, everybody's Dank, going there one, and then
we move. Yeah. All right. This was a tough one that we're talking through the week because I really don't truly hate a ton of guys. Right. But my number one and my number two, I really, really hate this guy, Chase Whiny Bitch. I mean, Winovich. I can't express how much I hate this dude. Obviously, I'm an Ohio State fan. He played at the school up north in Michigan, and he went on his whole revenge tour thing with them. I have never seen someone, and of course, look, he's a way better football player than I am, but someone who's such an average NFL football player have such a superstar mentality. He pretended to be what Aiden Hutchinson was for him this past year. You know, he had the long blonde hair and, all this, but he was never really that freaking good. And then he goes on and he plays for the Pats. So a rival of the Bills. So I've been rivals with this dude forever.
He's your nemesis.
All he does is run down on kickoffs since they got Judon. So he's not even playing, but he's still dancing around on these damn kickoffs like he's the man. But he just got traded to the Browns, which no one heard of because he stinks. So hopefully his career fades into the oblivion. I never have to hear from him again. But go ahead, Dank. Who's your number one?
So my number one guy is actually a linebacker. He played from 1980 to 1991. And he won 4 Super Bowls and got 1 Pro Bowl during his playing career. Then he became the general manager of the Detroit Lions. And if you didn't know, this person is Matt Millen. The worst, it's pretty much documented that he's the worst GM in football history. Like, the number of busts, he went on a streak of drafting 3 receivers in the first round with the second, 7th, and 10th pick.
It was so funny because they were talking about. I remember the Lions were talking about passing on Calvin Johnson just because they've missed on so many receivers.
So many receivers. And luckily they took Calvin Johnson, the only one that panned out.
Right.
But it's just, in Matt Millen, we're still recovering from his regime. Like, he got kicked in 2008.
Right.
And we're still recovering. Like, it's just terrible. I can't stand the guy. And now he does some college football games announcing, and I have to turn off the volume because I can't listen to the guy talk. I don't trust anything that guy says.
You know what he is, Dank? He's the guy. Why he likes USC. They got 11 guys on offense.
11 guys on
They got 11 guys on defense. So, all right, Matt Millen off the board. Qwee, who do you got? Who's number one?
Well, this was an easy one for me.
And it's one I want to dive into a little bit.
Dude, I'm gonna set the place on fire today. He's gonna need Will Smith.
Yeah, that came on as we finished recording last week.
Yeah.
Figured that out.
So number one is Peyton Manning. Let me tell you why Peyton Manning sucks.
I'm so excited because Qwee has always said he hates Peyton Manning, and he's never been able to articulate why. So hopefully he put in the work this week.
Hopefully he doesn't have a Qwee brain meltdown too. I want clear and concise.
Nope. There were 2 people on my list that I sat down and I
the only person to ever hate Peyton Manning. But go ahead, Qwee.
Let me tell you. Yeah. Let me just get started.
I do have a hot take on him too, but go ahead.
I do too. Maybe it's the same one. So I'm going to start with his look before anything. And I'm going to ease into this, but you can land a full-on airplane on his forehead. Okay?
That's not his fault.
Well, I have to look at it, so yes, it is. Okay? Second piece of this is, of all athletes on the planet, including Hunter Renfrow, he single-handedly looks the worst. If you walked by him, no chance do you say football player. At all.
He's like 6'4".
At least like when Brady got older, he developed like so much moxie that we just pushed aside his combine video. We were just like, it doesn't matter.
There's that meme about Brady. Tom Brady is proof that you're not ugly, you're just poor.
Right.
Now, the next thing that used to drive me crazy is he used to wear wristbands as wristbands. Fired immediately. If you do that, you're not good at football. Go sit down somewhere else.
Wait, what does
Goodbye.
that mean?
He's supposed to put him on his legs?
In that,
what does that mean?
that means it either goes on the forearm, the elbow. You either buy the thin ones and put them on the forearm or the bicep. You cannot wear a wristband on your wrist and tell me you're a good football player.
I mean,
He's
you
got the
can't just
full
chalk
thick
up
one,
during
right,
a game, you know?
The full thick one?
Oh my god.
But here,
He wears
My
wristbands at wristbands. That's why he creates.
yeah, simple. But my true hatred for him is a hot take, and He's the most overrated football player of all time.
Oof.
Wow.
Oof.
The most
Let me-
overrated?
Yep, and I'm going to serve this on a nice platter for all of you.
I'm excited.
Okay? Let me talk to you. One, he barely has over a 500 record in the postseason. I don't care about the regular season at all. Don't care at all. Because good franchises, good teams in the NFL that are built the right way are built to go to the playoffs regardless. The Cowboys, the Packers, the Steelers, look across the league. The teams that are built the
I thought we were
right
talking
way
good franchises.
are going to go to the postseason every single time. The Colts were built that way. They were, right? So they went to the postseason. He had just over a 500 record. Let me tell you how many times he was one and done in the postseason. 2000, 2001, 2003, 2006, 2008, 2009, 2011, 2013. Great teams. Awesome. They go to the playoffs. If the quarterback play is as good as it's supposed to be, they win deep or they go deep. That dude went one and done almost all the time. Right? So the years that they made runs.
Yep.
All right. So that's I looked up his stats, right? So 2007 he got three playoff wins from start to finish. 2010 he got another 3 because he won a ring. Played with 2 Hall of Fame receivers, arguably 3. You know, I don't want to hear the Eli Manning or the Tom Brady debate. Well, he played against Tom all the time. Well, his Fredo brother, who's terrible, who I talked about last week,
looks worse.
beat him twice.
Hey.
And it didn't take him very long to figure that one out. So if you go through everything, yeah, he played forever. He played on great teams. Awesome. But he's the most overrated football player of all time.
It's
you're not selling me.
When
You
we had
just
the
served
best
it.
quarterback
I
talk
will
we've ever
say-
seen, didn't you put Peyton Manning in that conversation?
Yeah, because I didn't say he's not a good player. I said he's the most overrated football player of all time.
Touche. Shut your mouth, Dank.
I will say he's not as funny as people say he is. Like ESPN wants you to believe he's not as funny as ESPN wants you to believe he is. He's really not. But Moose, who's your number one?
All right. So my list leaned heavily on people that have ruined my life and childhood. So these first 3 picks all fall in the same category. But number one has to be Aaron Rodgers.
Oof, nice.
Not because I don't think he is fantastic. He is. He's 100%, right? But watching him single-handedly end 2 of the best Cowboy teams of my lifetime by himself on a trash team in Green Bay, who, if they did not have him, though in 14 and 16, those teams are 8-win teams, right? And I just think about that 4th and 27, and I went, there's no way we are stopping Aaron Rodgers right now. On 4th and 27, and he hits a 38-yard piss missile to some tight end I never heard of, drills it into his face mask, and they kick a field goal to win the game. You know? So that's my number one. I don't care. And it also bothers me that I have so many Green Bay fans as some of my best friends, and I need them to know, just like I said before, that I'm waiting to collect and cash in all these receipts for the next decade when he leaves and they go back to the gutter of a franchise after having Favre and Rodgers for 30 years.
Ridiculous.
I said the same thing. I said the same thing. My fiance is a big Patriots fan, and when Brady won the Super Bowl with the Bucks, I looked over to her. I'm like, so are you starting to realize that there's nothing special about you or that number or that jersey or that place? It's that guy. That's the reason why. and I want all Patriots fans to know that too. It was him. The Patriot way is a myth. It was him. All right, my number 2. This is an obvious one for me here. Former NFL player, now coach Jim Harbaugh. And listen, I'm not going to like anybody who's the head coach of the school up north, being the psychotic Ohio State fan I am. But his quote about Ryan Day after the game this year was so asinine. Like, I think about it and get mad just thinking about it, where he said some guys were born on third base and think they hit the triple. About Ryan Day. All right, Jim, it took you 6 years to get to third base and you think you hit a home run.
Right.
Like, you're still 1-5 against Ohio State. You're 3-4 against Michigan State. Yeah, you had a good year, but it would just been funny for him to go to the Vikings. But like, what has he shown outside of this year that he could do that? Besides his years in San Francisco, but we're not even talking about it. But
those San Fran teams were pretty legit,
pretty good. But I'm just saying, I'm calling it right now. You heard it here first. Ohio State is going to blow the doors off of Michigan next year. Great teams win, good teams cover, and they're going to double the cover. I'm going to hit alt lines on that one.
Heard it here first.
Heard it here first. Go ahead, Dank.
With the 10th pick of the 2014 draft, the Detroit Lions select Eric Ebron, who he dropped so many passes in Detroit. It was freaking ridiculous. I was like, this guy had 1 million drops and only 50 pass attempts and 50 targets to him. And then, so
that doesn't add up.
So what is, well, that's 2,000. That's 2,000 drops per target. That's how many times he dropped the ball. So after 4 seasons, Detroit's like, listen, we got to let you go. And then this tool goes to Indianapolis and has a Pro Bowl freaking season, catching 13 touchdown passes in one season.
Yep.
Do you know how many touchdown passes he got in Detroit in his 4 seasons? 11. So he had more in Indianapolis. I'm like, where did this come from, dude? Like, what were you doing? And that I can't stand the guy. I hope he's in Pittsburgh, and I hope they just cut him. I really do. I don't want anything bad to happen to him. I just don't want him to play football anymore because he's a.
All right, Qwee, you're up.
All right, number 2 on the list is Travis Kelce. Super simple.
On your team, on your fantasy team. On your random college fantasy team, Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. He's number 2. That's why I'm trying to really sell the justice here on how much I hate him. But it was super simple. The Raiders can't figure out how to cover him yet. And I don't think they plan on
anybody
anytime soon. But I think he's the worst human on the planet. So simple. Everything about him screams that he's such an asshole. And like, it's like, you know what it is too? It's like the times where Mahomes makes these plays and I'm like, oh, it's going to go to Tyreek, whatever. And it doesn't. Yeah. And Kelce converts like a first down, or like, I think back specifically to like, so the Raiders upset Kansas City in KC 2 years ago. They have the lead going in. It's like a minute left that same year at home, and he's uncovered. And I thought I was going to die. I'm like, of all people, it's got to be him. And it's like, then I expect him to celebrate, and he doesn't. And I just want to punch his face in. He's just... Everything about him is like a high school bully, and I know he's going to kick my ass, but I'm going to fight him anyway. You know what I mean?
He's not Baker Mayfield, Qwee. You're losing that one.
Yeah. It hurts to swallow that pill, but I know.
And he wears his socks on his feet like an asshole.
Yeah. And he wears a wristband on his wrist like a turd.
All right, Moose, who's your number 2?
All right, my number 2 is a guy who is one of my favorite players I've ever seen play.
How do
But
you
I
mess up
hate
every
him.
game? Okay.
No. Because he wasn't on my team, and I hated him with a passion. And when I was younger, he was the most intimidating dude in the league. But Brian Dawkins, yes,
Freak.
the freak. He had the dance. He was yoked out of his mind. He had the black visor. And he just, when he played Dallas, there was like such hatred from him. And I just remember him crippling Cowboy receivers every game. And me just going, this guy is an animal. And I always thought about this. And I was like, when they went on that run of NFC championship games, that was when Dallas was at its absolute worst. And I remember just being like, this dude looks at this team like they are lunch meat on every single game. And it always stuck with me. He's my number 2.
Yeah, Brian Dawkins, like, I feel like people forget how good he was comparable to Ed Reed.
Yeah, 100%.
It was like that was a conversation. It was who was better, Brian Dawkins. Now, funny story about Brian Dawkins, which I love, was I was coaching in a youth camp, and there was a 4th grader who, like, he was just talking with one of his friends in line, and he goes, "Oh, this is a couple years ago," but he goes, "Oh, my favorite college football team is Clemson," and his friend goes, "Yeah, because you're a front runner," and he goes, "No, because Brian Dawkins played there." I'm like, dude, that is the sickest thing I've ever heard in my life. Out of a 4th grader, like 2 years ago. Like, that was awesome. I'm like, give me a high five. You're coming home with me.
Can't do that, Patty.
Can't do it. Yeah. Yeah. His dad's all right. All right.
Sounds like a GA to me.
His dad's cool with it.
His dad's cool. Yeah, that's right. All right. My number 3 is a guy that most people probably don't know. But his name is John Moffitt. Laugh for Moose there. So I played against this dude my sophomore year of high school. It was my 2nd game starting at center. Back in the day, I weighed 180 pounds on the roster. So I was probably like 165 to be listed at 180. But he was 300 pounds, 0 technique, with a full scholarship to Wisconsin. And I have a cleat mark on my chest from when he ran me over, where he grabbed me, the guard, and the quarterback and sacked all 3 of us all at the same time. So he ended up being, oh my God. I mean, he was out by like the first quarter because they were just whooping us, but like it was a bad quarter. It was the longest quarter of my life. He went on. He was an All-American at Wisconsin. He was a 2nd-round draft pick by the Seahawks. Bounced around a bit towards the end. He went to Denver. I think he ended up in Philly. But the reason why he's on my hate list is because we all have that moment where you realize, like, no, I'm not going to the NFL. And it was that night where he dashed my dream of like, I love football. I'm going to play forever. No, you're not, kid. Like, better start coaching.
Yeah, because he used you as a sweat towel.
Oh, my God. I mean, didn't even register that I was there. It was, yeah. Yep. So, John Moffitt, number 3. Dank, who's 3?
So, like, hate is a strong word, and my top 3 are my hate list. These are the guys I hate, and this guy I was gonna put at 10 just because I had some remembrance of what happened, and so I'm gonna take it back a little bit. So September 22nd, 2018, we're at Moose's house watching Stanford play Oregon, and
yes.
Full disclosure, I mean, I don't remember what the spread was. I know I had Oregon. That's all I remember. I don't know how
The
much money
team
was
had
on it. I
Oregon.
know I had
The
Oregon.
team had Oregon.
Yeah. And so Oregon storms out to a big lead. Then Stanford crawls back. And it's 2nd and 3. Oregon has the ball. They're up by 3. 2nd and 3, 59 seconds left. Stanford already burned 2 of their timeouts. They only have 1 timeout left. So Oregon thinking it's a safe play. They're going to hand the ball off to their running back. The running back at the time is C.J. Verdell. C.J. Verdell decides to take it upon himself to try to get that 3 yards to win the game. And he stretches out in the middle of the field on 2nd and 3, and the ball gets popped out of his hands, and Stanford recovers, kick a field goal, go into OT, Stanford wins the game. I've never been so mad in my life at another person for how dumb you could possibly be.
I mean,
It's
you've
not like
been
it was
pretty
4th
mad at
down.
me before.
Huh?
You've been pretty mad at me
Well,
before.
yeah, you're just an idiot, freaking. But I was so pissed at this guy because I think I already started spending that money on other stuff.
I know.
And then then the whole thing just went downhill from there. So CJ Verdell is number 3 on my list.
I had him at number 7.
Like I said, I had him originally at 10. I knew how to fit him in
Right.
here.
Yeah.
But then as I kept recalling and researching that game of what happened, I just kept getting madder and madder. And I'm like, dude, I hate this guy.
He's getting drafted this year.
Is he really?
Yeah. You know he's going to Detroit.
Probably. He'll probably drop the ball every play.
All right, Qwee, you're up.
All right, number 3. Actually, before I do number 3, I got to give a quick shout out to my Uncle Buddha because you guys listening can't see, but I actually have some Philly Stars gear on. I got a Philly Star hat in the mail from episode 1.
That's awesome.
We're drawing USFL teams, and my Uncle Buddha hooked me up. So shout out
Go
to
Stallion.
him. And that's
Five-star
starting
Generals,
soon.
baby. Let's go.
Number 3 for me though is Michael Strahan.
Gap tooth.
I was gonna see if anyone was gonna jump on the wagon here, but
Oh, dude, I'm in.
all right. So
Kill him.
again,
Feed it to me.
He's a nice
Yep.
guy.
I don't
Again,
care.
it's not a lot, but look at his face. That's one. I wish the rocket in space kept going. See ya. But no, the biggest thing about him was Brett Favre laid down.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
And
Not a record.
I love football so much that when I see people talk about him and celebrate him or just bring it up in general, I have to hate you for that.
I
He
mean,
laid down. He laid down.
21 and a half is also pretty good. But
It's the principle of everything. And
I hear you.
and like, it's the same, and there's a couple more on the list, so I'm not going to give it all away. But
Shocker,
there
a
you
Packer ruined everything.
like, these people just get on the wagon. They think it's like, he laid down. He laid down.
All right, Moose.
All right, number 4. I'm going to go quick.
I think you're at
You
3.
should probably do
because-
number 3 first, you idiot.
What?
You're
You
on
got
number 3.
Yeah, what did I say?
You said
4.
4.
Oh, because I was crossing off number 4 off my list.
Okay.
Anywho, because he would only pick on the smallest dude on the field, Brandon Jacobs, because
Ooh.
he had 1 or 2 years where he had a couple highlight hits, finding the smallest DB imaginable, and he thought he was a hard ass. Hate. Goodbye.
Hey.
Yep.
Biggest baby ever born in the state of Illinois. That's true. Brandon Jacobs.
That's a
Fun
little
fact.
F and F for you. A little
That's
fun
right.
fact.
All right, let's start moving quicker here.
Yeah.
through number 4. My number 4, this guy made me cry as a 7-year-old. I've never forgiven him for it. Just an all-around bad guy, and that is Green Bay Packer legend Charles Woodson.
Ooh.
Because he made me cry as a 7-year-old.
What a dick.
Green Bay Packer legend. Another Packer off the board, Qwee.
All right.
There you go.
I'm going to
Someone
keep
needs
this
to
train
cancel
rolling. All right. Number 4 is Aaron Rodgers for me.
Average Aaron.
Average Aaron.
Nice.
Freaking pretty much just because if he played anywhere else, I probably wouldn't have a problem with him. But since he plays for the Packers, I can't stand the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like a bed bug. He just walks around so smug and just everything's a joke to him. That's an office
Like he
reference
thought it
right
was
there.
funny.
Like he thought it was funny. Go ahead, Qwee.
Number 4 for me, it's actually pretty simple. Eli Manning, because he is the second most overrated football player of all time.
Not a
Done.
Hall of Famer.
No, not a Hall of Famer.
Go ahead.
Next.
3.
All right, number 4, because he managed to convince the most powerful and wealthy owner in the NFL with a Sports Center of special of him drinking beer in his basement, and he got the head coaching job of the Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy.
Wow. All
Yes.
the way out.
You don't
huh?
like Mike?
No.
But you
Mustard
don't want him
tiger.
to tank for Sean Payton.
Right. I don't understand you sometimes.
I don't care. I still hate him. I still hate
All
him.
right.
Fair enough.
Moving right along. My number 5. It's a guy that I feel like I'm supposed to like as an offensive line guy, but I get one vibe from him. Ryan Jensen, center for the Buccaneers. I just feel like he's that guy that when you go out to the bar with a group of friends is like miserable, hanging in the corner, and like gets into a fight because a guy bumped into him on the way to the bathroom. And he
Right.
just ruins everybody else's night because he has to go fight
Right.
somebody.
Everyone's got to go home.
Right, exactly. So, because
That's
Ryan
Moose.
picked another fight.
That's Moose.
Pretty close. All right, Dank, you're up.
All right, number 5. This guy has dropped down my hated list. I respect him, but I still really don't like him. Matthew Stafford. Just
You're never going to give this one up.
never gonna give it
Crazy.
up. Never gonna give it up.
Greatest quarterback in Lions history.
That's
100%.
that's off the table. I give him that 100%. Still don't like him.
Future Hall of Famer. All right, go ahead,
We'll
Quinn.
see.
My number 5 was Brian Urlacher.
Ooh.
Yep.
Ooh.
Third most overrated football player of all time.
He wears
I
gloves
don't-
on his hands.
I don't care that you played for the Bears, which is like this big defensive fucking, mirage, whatever. I thought he was good. Never believed the hype. He was
I
a
love
good
Brian Urlacher.
football player. Move
Just
on.
turn around and sprint 50 yards because he was a safety in college.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Moose.
We're on
What are we
5.
on? 5. All right. Terrell Owens.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yep.
I could feel that.
Oh, sorry. I thought you, for a second, I thought you meant Terrell Davis. I'm like, what?
No. Terrell Owens.
Go ahead, Terrell Owens.
Well, pretty much everything he did his entire career, I think, would make you cringe every single time. And then, like, the way he threw Donovan McNabb under the bus and still does to this day is like beyond me. I don't understand it, And then he throws Tony Romo under the bus and then starts crying in a press conference like the next day. It's like, dude, get a hold of yourself, man.
What about him
See you
running on
later.
the star? Were you a big fan of
Yeah.
that one?
Yeah, the star thing. But then George T laid him out, so that was pretty sweet.
All right, my next guy, my number 6, and this is I don't even know if I should say it, but my number 6 is former Clemson linebacker Ben Boulware,
Wow.
because he said the worst sentence I think I've ever heard, and we're in the trust tree here, and you guys will know why this is funny, and then I'll explain why it's funny. But his quote was, "I just hate offensive linemen. They're so fat. I just want to run up and poke them in the belly button." So, trust tree for all of our listeners. I hate belly buttons with a burning passion. Hate it when people touch them. It makes me want to puke. Anytime they're referenced, anything like that. I used to not be able to eat Cheez-Its because they look like they have little belly buttons on them, and it would make me gag. So as soon as he said that, I was out on him, and then it was a shame because it was their guy from 2 years ago, Skolsky, looked like him. Look just like him, kind of play like him, but seems like a nice kid. But I always thought of Ben Bulwer and that quote about belly buttons. I'm like, I hate you too. So Ben Bulwer, number 6.
All right, my number 6 is Dak Prescott. And
Dakota.
Pretty much the only reason is because Moose said he was a top 5 quarterback 2 years ago.
Not
and that was
Josh Allen, not in the conversation.
Yeah, Josh Allen
Prescott.
not in the conversation, but Dak
At
Prescott
the time was not.
Yeah.
He
But
is
ever
now.
since Moose said
He
that,
is-
I
he is now.
cannot stand Dak Prescott.
Well, actually, no, he's not. He's not in the same conversation as Dak Prescott.
No, he's not.
Correct.
Go ahead, Qwee.
This next one, I'm going to move actually up my list, is John Lynch.
Dude, you're hitting some old timers, dude.
Yeah, dude.
John
been
Lynch is one of my all-time favorites.
I've been sitting on this for a while, though. I got to get it out of my system. He, too, made me cry when I was 10. Hated that he wore the linebacker face mask in the back end.
Yeah,
That
number
used to piss me-
47.
Yeah, that used to piss me off. And then on top of that, he always, to me, after he retired, but he looks to me like one of those guys, like rich dads that runs the Little League team, that just crushes everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who wears like the bike shorts to practice
Right.
and everything. He's got to go.
Yep.
Yeah, I loved him as a player. I agree with what you just said about him, though, that I think it was perfect, like a Little League dad. Moose, you're up.
6.
Speaking of wristbands and usefulness, Jamal Adams, because he wears 3 wristbands on his arm for no reason and a long sleeve shirt underneath it.
Is it on his
Everything
wrist?
doesn't make sense, and he just talks too much,
Yeah.
so he can get lost.
I'm still holding on to hope that he can be cool. He's just an outside backer, like is really what he is. All right, my number 7 was CJ Verdell,
Nice.
also as with Danks. But so I'll go with my next guy is Mike. I'm gonna Gesicki. First off, I hate Penn State with a burning passion. Have for a long time, and he played there. Also, he's on an AFC rival team in the Dolphins. But the real reason I hate him is because he wears a half sleeve undershirt as a tight end. It makes his arms look really small. Like, you're a tight end, dude. Just let the arms, let the guns show a little bit. I'm over the half sleeves.
Fair point.
So my number 7 is Doug Martin.
The muscle hamster.
Yeah, the muscle hamster. Strictly fantasy purposes. Drafted him 1 year, sucked. Following year, I was like, not doing that again. Goes off. Year after that, I freaking pick him up again, and he just sucked. And he was bad at running back. So Doug Martin made the hate list.
There you go.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again,
George Bush quote. Go ahead, Qwee.
My next one is Tyreek Hill. Solely because, obviously, he's a great player, but I feel like we have just completely pushed aside about every bad thing that he's done as a human, and we just said,
Yeah.
nah, it's fine. He runs fast.
100%, dude. 100%.
Speed
He's got to
kills.
go, too.
Go ahead,
All
Moose.
right. So this is a little Detroit shout out. Thank for really fleecing Dallas. I'm gonna go with the fake Roy Williams
I knew this was coming up.
and the 2 first-round picks that we got for that absolute pretender And on top of that, he wore the linebacker face mask, the half sleeves. And my favorite player growing up outside of Troy Aikman was Roy Williams, the safety. And it was right at the end of his career when Roy Williams, the safety, couldn't cover anybody anymore. And all these Cowboys fans would talk all this crap and say how this Roy Williams is legit and everything. And then he comes and absolutely fleeces Dallas for 3 seasons and is out of the league.
He was
See
probably
you
your
later.
best receiver
No, Miles
of all
Austin was.
time in Dallas.
Of all time.
Yeah.
All right. My next guy is Zach Wilson, aka Drew Lock 2.0. Not really his fault that he was drafted by the Jets, but so I just always want him to be bad. But it infuriated me, the comparison with him and Justin Fields. Neither of them had a awesome, stellar rookie year, but I'm still taking my man Jay Fields over him any day. So all that talk got me soured on Zach Wilson. Go ahead, Dank.
8, I had Zeke Elliott. Again, fantasy purposes. That
Yeah, he's a
year he
train
was
wreck.
supposed to be suspended at the beginning of
He's
the
the
season.
best player without the ball in his hands that
That's
Urban
true.
Meyer's ever coached. Thanks, Herb. Go ahead, Dank. I would have 2 national championships if it wasn't
So
that
in
damn
2017, Zeke had that whole thing where NFL was trying to suspend him. Then it kept getting pushed back to like might happen, after the season ends. And so most people get scared in fantasy when a guy's going to be suspended for a certain amount of time and they don't draft him. So I ended up with Le'Veon Bell and Zeke Elliott that season. I'm like, this is awesome. But then Zeke decides to take the freaking suspension as soon as fantasy football playoffs come. And I'm like, thanks a lot, Zeke. Just take it during the season. Don't take it through weeks 13, 14, 15, and 16. Don't ever do that again.
Think about the fantasy players.
Seriously.
Go ahead, Qwee.
Next up for me, I have a combo. I have the Barber brothers.
Jeez, Qwee.
Dude, everyone on that.
We're
Everyone,
never getting invited. We're
everyone
never
on
getting
that
invited to
Tampa
the Hall
team
of
is
Fame.
going. Yeah, everyone on that Tampa team is going down today. But more so about Tiki Barber, because literally all he did was fumble every other game for 4 years, and then they drafted Brandon Jacobs. So we need to stop talking about that. He's great. Move on.
Go ahead, Moose.
My next guy, I'm just gonna say, yes, he's the greatest. I can't stand him. I can't see him anymore. Tom Brady, he's got to go. He's got to be on the list. I'm so over it. And he's a great, whatever. I don't care. See you later.
This is actually my last guy because I didn't talk about CJ Verdell and I skipped one. So this is my last guy. It's the only guy on my list that I really respect. And I can't really put my finger on why I don't like him. Rodney Harrison. He just always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And, he's known to be a dirty player. And there was the whole steroid situation and all that. Never really liked him, but obviously great player. But Rodney Harrison never.
Don't know what it is.
Don't know what it is.
When I see it, I know I hate it. And that's him.
Exactly. Go ahead, Dank.
My next one, I had Brett Favre, again, pretty much just being a Packers quarterback. And what that franchise, it pisses me off that they found 2 quarterbacks to play throughout 30 years, and Detroit's on like their 55th. It's freaking ridiculous. Doesn't add up. And then my last guy was Darren Waller. Again, last year drafted in number 2 overall. Or not overall, but number 2 on my team, and sucked. So I'm pissed at Darren Waller.
All right, Qwee, last 2.
Last 2, I have Phillip Rivers and Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown that was like getting a Snapchat from a girl that you like, and then that was gone. Goodbye. Phillip Rivers, I got nothing for him, man. It's kind of like what you said. I just
everything
swear about him just sucks.
Just swear, Philip.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I was gonna go a little more aggressive on that one, but
Boy, sure.
I could
Go ahead,
feel it.
Moose. Moose, last two.
All right. Yep. So Carson Wentz, because I never saw 11 games do more for a dude's career, and people tell me that he was some sort of all-star, and me telling them every single day, like, nah, he's not. I mean, 11 games, congratulations. That's the
Yeah.
sample size.
He's
And
a guy
then
that I want
lastly-
to be good, but
No,
Yeah,
I don't care
I
if
mean-
he's good.
I
Yeah,
want to be good.
it's
I know.
irrelevant, you know?
Okay.
And then my last guy, because he's an absolute clown show after all the things that, admittedly, as much as I hate the Cowboys and their front office, for Randy Gregory to pull the hot trash he did after everything Dallas has done for that dude, it's
Dead to you.
wild. It's wild that he pulled that on them.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. All right, bring it up. Take a knee. Thank you for listening. Thank you to our good friend Savino for the use of our theme song, Time is Money. You can find him on Instagram at Savino_music. Just released his single Lilac Soul on all major platforms. Look up Savino. That is Savino. Thank you to Sarah Wyant for the creation of our logo. Thank you to our producer, Brian Miller. You can follow us on social media at The Pick Route across all channels. That's Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at The Pick Route. You can email us game ideas at thepicroute@gmail.com. New episodes every Tuesday. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, until next week, it could be worse. You could be playing for us.
Time is money, don't be wasting my cash. Give it back, give it back, get it back. Hey, time is money, don't be wasting my stacks.